Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. In this video, I'm introducing my latest Blender add-on called blendAppend. If you've ever tried to append assets from other blend files, you already know the process can get pretty annoying. You gotta dig through collections, guess object names, and constantly reopen the file browser. So I built blendAppend to make that process a lot simpler. It lets you browse another blend files directly from the end panel, preview objects before you append them, and bring exactly what you need into the scene with full control over things like hierarchy, modifiers, and materials, and many other options. In this video, I'll show you how the add-on works, go through each part of the interface, demonstrate some real use cases, and how it can save you a lot of time. Let's jump in. Installation works just like any other Blender add-on. Go to Edit menu, then Preferences, then Install from Disk, and then just enable the blendAppend add-on. We do have a preferences option over here, which we will go through later. Now let's take a look at the interface. To get started, we first choose the .blend file we want to browse. So you go to Select and then simply find a Blender file that you would like to browse. Once the file loads, the add-on displays all of the collections that exist under the scene collections in the source file. This is shown under the collections list over here. The second list shows all of the objects inside the currently selected collection. So if I go over here and, for example, select the Bullpup Shotgun collection, I can see all the objects under that collection and I can scroll through them. If there are objects that exist directly under the scene collection, meaning they aren't inside a collection, these objects are automatically placed into an uncategorized group. This keeps the browser hierarchy clean and easier to navigate. For example, if in this file I have a cube that is placed directly under the scene collection, and I open this using the blendAppend add-on from another Blender file, this cube will appear under the uncategorized collection under this list. Below that, we have the preview, which displays a preview of whichever object you currently have selected in that object list. Now to backtrack and go to the preferences, the preview scale enables you to enlarge or make that preview smaller depending on your preferences. This allows you to quickly confirm what you're about to append without needing to import anything first. Now that we understand the interface, let's move on to the main part of the add-on, which are the append options. Now let's go over the append options, which give you control over exactly how objects are imported into your scene. Starting with the modifiers section. Here you have two options. The first is modifiers. If this is enabled, the appended object will keep all of its modifiers from the source files. If I append this barrel, you can see that it contains the modifiers that it initially had in the source file. The second option is enable modifiers. When modifiers are kept, this option controls whether they are active or disabled after the append. If I click append again, you will see that the modifiers are enabled. Now you have to use this option with caution for objects that have heavy modifier stacks. For example, if I go over to my Hi collection and I select the receiver, click append, you can see that it has a very heavy modifier stack. Now if I was to enable the modifiers and click append, this would probably take several minutes to load and sometimes could cause Blender to become unresponsive. So this has to be used with caution. Next, we have the collections section. The append collections option will append the entire collection instead of a single object. So I enable this option and I select my Hi collection and I click append, you will see that it appended everything under this collection. And since I have the modifiers, everything came with the original modifier stack. And those modifiers are disabled. Again, if I was to enable modifiers and append everything, this will probably and definitely cause Blender to crash, as there is a lot of heavy objects here with very heavy modifiers. So this is useful because I can append all these objects, keep the modifiers, and disable them without having to worry about the objects loading their modifier stack. The append child collections allows you to recursively append any collection that are nested under the selected one. For example, if I select the low collection, which in itself does not have any objects, however, it does have several collections nested underneath, and I enable this option and I click append, you will see that it has appended all the objects that are inside the nested collections. Just a point to note out over here, you can safely click Ctrl-Z to undo and undo whatever you have appended. For the third option, we have the clone collection name, which will recreate the same collection structure in your current scene so that the hierarchy stays organized exactly like it was in the source file. So if I enable it and I have the low collection selected and I click append, now we will see right here on the right side that the collection names have been appended as well. And all the objects are under their respective collections just as in the source file. Below that, we have the hierarchy and placement option. The clear parents option removes parent relationships from the appended object. If you disable this option, the original parent-child hierarchy will be preserved. Next is clear transforms. This will reset the location, rotation, and scale of appended objects. Before doing this, the add-on temporarily unlocks any locked transform channels to ensure the reset works properly. Now, if you've noticed, these are enabled by default, and any objects that I have appended so far, they have been appended to the scene root. If I disable them, I click append, you'll see now barrel is appended to its original location in the source file. Then there is child meshes. This option allows the add-on to append meshes that are children of the selected object, which can be useful when objects are built as grouped structures rather than a single mesh. If I enable this, and I know I have an object that has several children, which is this mag low over here. If I enable this option and I click append, you will see that it has appended the mag itself as well as any child objects that are parented to it, including the shell, the follower, and this bottom cover over here. Now, to demonstrate the clear transform, if I append this object once again and I have the clear transform selected and I append it, you will see that it has reset the transform and maintained the relative location of the child objects to the parent object. Now, if I was to do the clear parent option and I click append, it has appended the child meshes off the object that we have selected. However, it has cleared the parents of all these child objects and it has reset their placement to the scene root. Now, you may see that the bottom cover is still over here, but that's because its origin is right in the center over here. Next, we have the placement options. You can choose whether the appended objects appear at their original source location or move them directly to the 3D cursor. This is essentially clearing only the location transform and it's maintaining the scale and rotation. So for example, if I choose 3D cursor and I place my 3D cursor anywhere and I click append, you will see that it has appended the mag to where my 3D cursor is at, as opposed to the source location, which appends it over here. This is where the magazine is originally in the source file. Then we have target collections. Here you can choose where the appended objects are placed in your current scene. You can either append them to the active collection or directly to the scene root. For example, if I create a new collection over here and I have this collection active and I click append, you will see that my magazine is appended to this collection. Now, if I go and select scene root instead, you will see that it has been placed on the very outside, right under the scene collection. And finally, we have a couple of additional options. The materials option controls whether materials from the source file are imported along with the object. If I click append and I go into material preview, you will see that the objects came with their original materials. Now, if I enable modifiers, just to backtrack a little bit and click append, you will see that it has appended all these objects, enabled the modifiers, so we can see the object in its material with the modifiers enabled. The final option is select appended, which will automatically select any objects that were just appended, making it easy to immediately move or edit item. This is enabled by default. So again, if I click append and I immediately press G, you can see that I can move them around because they are already selected. Now, if I disable this and I click append, you see that nothing is selected. And that covers all of the append options available in blendAppend. Now let's take a quick look at a few practical examples of how this add-on can be useful. For example, this specific file that I have opened is actually a file that I have saved and mistakenly kept all the high objects with their modifiers enabled. Basically, whenever I try to open this file, it will take forever to load and chances are my Blender crashes. Basically, the file is almost unrecoverable because I cannot open it. With this add-on, I can load all the objects with the modifiers disabled so that all the objects are loaded in their lightweight form, and I can easily recreate this file or append any objects that I need from this file without losing anything. And that's it for my blendAppend add-on. It is currently available on Superhive if you're interested, and if you have any questions, just let me know down in the comments.